Oh hey, I am literally racing to get home. My friends and I were out and about and we decided to see who could get home the fastest. I know that my general vicinity of where I need to go is that way. But my challenge is, how do I make the best decision to take the correct route? Because there are a few. We can go straight, we can go left, or we can go right. So how do I make the best decision to take the path that gets me home the fastest? I'm going to head this way. Why don't you come with me when we get home, and when we beat my friends, let's talk about why decision making is important. Let's go. Well, we made it back home, and probably not all too surprising, we beat my friends by a lot. And part of that was due to being able to make good decisions in a timely manner. But now the question really needs to be why? Why is it important that we can make quick decisions that allow us to be successful? And in order for us to do that, let's head upstairs. So the question that I always ask is why? Why is it important that we talk about making good decisions? And when it all comes down to it, we need to make decisions in our everyday life. In a professional setting, being able to make good decisions quickly usually results in a competitive advantage. Your company could gain more customers. You might be rewarded with a promotion or additional opportunities. In a sporting event, those decisions can lead to victory. Now, in our personal lives, we're not usually trying to make decisions to compete with our loved ones to win. But we do need to make decisions for our families and for ourselves. So it's important that we make good decisions. So the question then becomes, how are we able to make good decisions quickly? And luckily for us, there's a framework that can help guide us. This framework comes from a fighter pilot by the name of John Boyd. And he was a fighter pilot in the Korean War. When he first got there, in his first few dogfights, he quickly learned that his aircraft was far inferior to that of his enemy counterpart's aircraft. He knew that he wouldn't be able to replace his aircraft, and the only way that he would be able to outmaneuver his enemy counterpart would be by making better decisions strategically in order to gain an advantage and win. Now, by the time that John Boyd went home from the war, the Allies were racking up a kill ratio from their aircraft of 10-1. And it all came back to this decision-making process that John Boyd and his peers implemented. Now, if this process works for decisions that could result in life or death, then it can work for us. Luckily for us, though, we're not faced with some of those decisions like John Boyd was. So let's take a little bit further look at what this process is. And it's called the OODA loop. And that's OODA. And it stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. For us, let's take a look at the first step, which is to observe. Everything starts with observation. There's a reason that this is the first step in the process. And we really need to take in all that we are seeing. Now, this may mean different things depending on our scenario. In a professional scenario, for example, it may mean looking at our team's production for the prior period. And we need to observe the events that led to our team's production, whether that be positive or negative. Now, during this stage, you're really trying to observe all of the events that could have led to the question that you are asking. And we're trying to decipher information. The quicker we're able to decipher or connect the dots about the information that we're observing, the better off we're going to be to make a positive decision that sets us up for success. Once we're able to observe that information, we need to move on and to orient ourselves. I've now gathered information and have determined that that information is related to the question that I'm asking myself. In the second step of OODA loop, Orient, I now take that information and turn it into data. When I'm able to do that, it'll help point me in the right direction in order to make the best decision possible. In the example that I was reviewing before, it's obvious that we should know whether our team is performing well or not, but that in and of itself isn't enough. We need to be able to put some context around the team's performance. So we need to ask ourselves some questions. Was there anything happening during the prior period that may have led to those results? Maybe there was an increase in new employees. If that's the case, I may spend some additional time upskilling or building their confidence around the work that they do in order to become more productive. But if there weren't new employees, I wouldn't want to go that route. I may need to ask myself some additional questions. At its simplest, I need to understand what's happening or the story behind why my team's performance is the way that it is. Only then am I able to identify the best course of action in moving forward. And we are now at the third step of the OODA loop process, which is to decide. We're now going to make a decision. And before we jump into making that decision, I want you to think about a video that we made a few weeks ago called The Dichotomy of Life. And in that video, we talked about finding balance. And that's going to come to play here in the decision-making process, because if we skip steps 1 and 2 of observe and orient, we're now making a decision based on potentially poor information that will lead to a poor decision. However, we also can't spend so much time in steps 1 and 2 that we miss an opportunity to make a decision that would set us up for success or to win in a competitive environment. We can't rely solely on information, but we also don't want to rely solely on our feelings or prior knowledge or experience. We want to find balance between all of that in order to make a decision. Do you see why we need to now pay attention to the dichotomies of our life? Just as in life, in making decisions, we need to find balance between the information that we've observed and how we see the world through our prior knowledge and experience. The good thing about this is that we don't have to be perfect right away, and we can get better at making decisions. And we do that the same way that we get better at anything, and that's through practice. Now, I wouldn't recommend that you start your practice of decision making by making a life-altering decision to move or buy a house or leave your job or anything like that. But you can start small. It could be where you're going to go out this evening, or what you and your spouse are going to do this weekend. And from there, start building up, making good decisions, and getting more comfortable in doing it. We've now gathered the information based on what it's told us, and we've made a decision on how we want to move forward. We now need to move to the final step of the OODA loop process, which means to take action. We're going to take action based on all the information that we've gathered and what it's told us and how it's pointed us in this direction. Now, each step of this process could be argued as being the most important step, but nothing matters unless you actually go out and execute on the decision that you made. But the dichotomy here, again, is that you want to balance that with observing information, turning it into data that is relevant, and making a good decision. So you need to complete all steps of the process in order to make a good decision. So each step is the most important. Now, what I will say is information is so readily available these days that I can literally pick up my phone and find anything on the Google machine that is just at my fingertips, and everybody also has that same capability. So what really will differentiate you, especially in a competitive environment, is not necessarily about the information you're able to gather, but how quickly you're able to orient yourself, make a decision on that information, and then act on those things. What I will say too is that this process, as described earlier, can get better, and you will get better as you go through the OODA loop process. Now, OODA loop is sometimes hard to remember. What I tell my team is to relax, take a look around, and make a decision. And I think that that encompasses the OODA loop process. And I know that as you continue along your journey of observing, orienting yourself, deciding on what you're going to do, and then taking massive action in order to accomplish that you'll find success in your life, both professionally and personally. Now, before we close it out today, I wanted to take a quick moment and share something that I think is kind of cool. And you've noticed that I've been sporting this hat with this patch today, which is something new. And it's in honor of my brother. And what you'll see is this patch is his iconic glasses and mustache, and was inspired by this picture that he sent to me. The picture he sent was because he wanted me to grow out my mustache, and he was showing me what the good mustache might look like. My brother was probably one of the most compassionate people that I've ever met. He was also one of the most loving, hardworking, and funny individuals as well. It didn't matter if you were family or friend or coworker or a complete stranger. He was able to build quick relationships and make your day a little bit better. I want to carry on his tradition, and I strive to do that each day. I also know that there are so many people out there that are doing the exact same thing, and I want to recognize those that make the lives of others better. If you know somebody who is going above and beyond, who makes your life better, your community better, or who's just a great person, let me know in the comments. I want to get one of these patches out to them and to let them know that what they do is appreciated and that they matter. The world could use a little bit more cheer, laughter, and love, so would encourage you all to give a little bit more, especially during these trying times. I really appreciate the support that you give, the 10 minutes that you take every other week to learn a little bit more about life and leadership. That's it for this episode of Take 10. We will see you next time.